time now for Coming In Hot with Brent Wallace and former Ottawa Senator Jason York.
And now, without further ado, let's bring in two of the smartest people in hockey. Bukauskas, who has a little podcast you may have heard of called 32 Thoughts, and of course, Graeme Nichols, firefighter extraordinaire.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Barry.
Barry wanted to say hi to Uncle Wally.
I miss Barry.
Hey, I want to say hi to Uncle Wally. Hey,
Nice to see Barry.
Graham, are you a dog guy too?
Yeah, I got a miniature schnauzer.
Oh, a miniature schnauzer. So does your dog go nuts when the mailman shows up, or do you have mail?
Doorbell, doorbell, everything. Yeah, it goes crazy.
What is it with schnauzers? Because my wife had two of them growing up, and they're the best dogs, but they just
yeah, they're great until you're walking one on the street and another dog goes by or what have you. It's I don't know if it's like a territorial thing, but they're yappy as hell. So
where'd Barry go, Kyle? Is he gone?
I had to put him down. Yeah, well, not put him down. He wanted to be on the ground. He's better than sitting on my bony lap.
This is a serious show, guys. You can't just have dogs.
He is.
Kyle,
anytime we come down here to record the podcast I do with Elliot, he always comes down, just lays by the chair and likes to listen along for some strange reason. So he's down here again this morning.
Kyle, you never cease to amaze me in your works. Jeez, my goodness.
Yeah, actually, you know what? It's funny you mentioned that, Jason. Sorry, Brent. I have no intentions of hijacking the show, but as for those that aren't aware, I grew up on the West Coast. I'm a BC guy, and I got a letter in the mail recently.
Come on,
expedited parcel. None of that Canada Post nonsense. And I just thought I would read it here on the pod.
Interesting, Wally.
What is happening?
So it reads, Dear Kyle, I am pleased to inform you that you have been granted conditional acceptance into the British Columbia chapter of the Good Guys Club.
What? Congratulations.
This recognition comes with a lifetime of responsibility and should not be understated. We look forward to you continuing to show the necessary traits of a full-time card-carrying member. Yours truly, President of the Good Guys Club BC chapter, Wade Redden.
Wow, this is unbelievable. It's a Christmas miracle, Kyle.
This
the
is
ultimate
ridiculous.
gift you can receive.
Oh.
Incredible.
You know what? I got Graham. We got our eyes on you in Ottawa too. By the way, just so you know, there's always people watching. Kyle,
that's exciting.
Given the other job
that's
that
the end
Graham
of our
does,
show for today.
he is always he is an automatic entrant. Given his side gig when he's not providing great content for Sens fans, I think that gets him in automatically.
So this is great news, Kyle. Congratulations. I had no idea because British Columbia has their own chapter. You know, this is going to get discussed in the new year.
Right.
Big
you only come together once for the AGM.
Yeah. And we'll you know what? There's other. This is the thing. It's tough if you can't just put in an app and apply. It's kind of like the math. It's kind of like Augusta. It's for like invite only. You get these things, and they just happen organically. It's great, isn't it, Wally? It's so good, eh?
Graeme and I will be starting our own podcast in the new year. Well, congrats, Kyle. I don't know if you get a jacket or anything, but congrats. Good luck.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Wait, can you be expelled from the Good Guy Club?
Well, we don't. Like, we do our homework before you bring guys in. I don't think there's ever been an expulsion law. That's why it's so tough to get in. Like, it's just these just don't get handed out like no bad apples, Wally. Come on.
Speaking of Good Guy Club, let's put Linus Ullmark in the Good Guy Club, gentlemen. We've all seen the stats, but they are a little ridiculous at the moment. 6 straight wins. Now 7-0-1 in his last 8 games. He could have 6 shutouts. All 6 of these wins in a row, he has gone into the third period with a shutout. So the numbers are ridiculous. He now is top 8 in both save percentage and goals against average in the league. I'm not sure what there is to say about him anymore, but I will leave it up to you 3 gentlemen to tell me your thoughts on Linus Ullmark, the guy that we all said the Senators needed to have in order to have success. Kyle, since you're the reigning BC chapter Good Guy Club guy.
Good guy, club guy. That's great. You know what? I think back to like it was funny that some were pointing out the fact that this run all started like shortly after the first significant snowfall here in Ottawa of the year, and of course he had the line about him and his kids loving the snow. But that was also right around the time that Ullmark was named to Team Sweden for the Four Nations, and I don't think there was really much of a debate, like, whether or not he was going to make the team. It seemed like he was all but a lock to make that group. But you have to think like there's an extra little strut, extra swagger about you when you get named to something like that. Like that matters. And you can tell, especially as we saw here for players that didn't quite make the cut for either of those teams. So I think about that. And also just time. Like Jason, I heard you talking about it on a episode you guys had here earlier in the week, because I had a conversation with Linus a couple of months ago, and he said like even when he first got to Boston, and as sound of a defensive team as they were at that time, he said it still just takes time for you to understand your defensemen, to build that trust between one another, and knowing that when there's a breakdown defensively, he's going to have their back. When he gives up, the occasional bad goal, the team in front of them is going to have their back. And, it didn't come together right away here in Ottawa through October and November. But now you're starting to see things really gel here. So, that's been a positive, and of course the fact that they're stringing wins together. I thought last night, like, gentlemen, we've all watched this, like for years, the way things were going, you have a good weekend, back-to-back set at home. Now you go out west. The boys are enjoying field level there, the Sunday night game, the Seahawks-Packers. Like you could have bet your life savings on that being a loss last night, and it would have been a sure thing. Yep. But, they took them a little bit to find their legs. Ullmark did what he needed to do, and it's not like it was constant 2-on-1 after 2-on-1, but made the saves he needed to. And then, it was almost a role reversal there where, a goal that Joey Decord surely would have liked to have back. Suddenly, the Senators were skiing downhill for 8 to 10 minutes, and that proved to be the difference. They didn't let Seattle back in last night. It wasn't a perfect game, but it was a good showing.
Graeme, were you at the Pittsburgh game? Were you at the building?
No, I was not.
I was at that game, and I made the comment, like the energy in the building just feels different now with Ullmark in the net. Like it's incredible how the whole, not just with the players, it's the fans and everybody, but from your vantage point, like what are you seeing with Ullmark and why things changed and why things are going so well for him now?
I don't know if it's like a consequence of his injury that he sustained in the second game of the season, but I felt earlier in the season he was playing a little deeper in his net, and he was getting beat up high a lot. It seems now to me, I'm not like a goaltending expert or anything, but it seems like he's out, he's more aggressive, he's more square to the shooter, and he's just giving guys like less room to shoot at. And it seems the puck just seems to be hitting him. And, for the better part of the first quarter of the season, I think you could say, God, if this team could just get some saves, like they'd be in a good spot. Like they were playing well. The structure was a lot better than we've seen in previous years. And it's just a matter of like, okay, let's get the goaltending going. As soon as we start getting like, the 900 save percentage in games, they'll be fine. And they've been getting that for the past month through December, and it's been great.
You put out a tweet when Ottawa was going through their bad times. I remember you put it out, and it was an analytical stat on expected goals against, I believe. And you said, this isn't going to continue because the numbers are showing that they're playing pretty good. They just need, like you said, they just needed some key saves at key times.
But nobody wants to hear that, right? Like nobody wants to hear, we just need to be a little bit luckier. Like, because luck is something you can't control. Like as a player, you don't want to hear that. It's all about working harder, doing the little things, paying attention to details and stuff. And it's just like, well, eventually, like Linus Ullmark has been, I think his career save percentage is like 915 throughout his career. Like he should reasonably be expected to be better, and his game's improved, and all of a sudden we're starting to see the dividends of that. It's been good, and you can see the confidence, like you can see the swagger and the confidence and the moxie that the guys are getting on the ice, playing in front of them, and it's just organic, and they're building off it. It's fun to watch.
Well, even you go to practice every day, Kyle, you're there too. Like you can just tell too, guys know, like I know this from playing, you just have a different feeling. Well, we talked about this last week, the swagger Josh Norris was talking about. He's like, hey, we know we got this guy now. And like last night, we all watched the game. Like they got a chance to kind of, I hate to say it, they say this old term, you dip your toe in the water to see what it's going to be like before the game starts. And all of a sudden you're getting outshot 15-5 or whatever it was early on in that game, 10-3. But hey, that game easily could have went other way, right? Well, it could have been totally different.
So so I'm watching it. I thought they actually controlled a bit of the play just by cycling, but every time they seemed to have a shot, it was blocked by the point. But then I looked up and the shots were 14-3, and I'm
Right?
like, what happened? And I'm like, oh no, like Joey Decord looks pretty good. They'll settle in, and then they're going to get a weak goal on Ullmark, and then they're going to roll to a victory. I'm like, they got that Shane Pinto goal, which I think we all admit.
That was stinky. It was stinky.
Yeah. Like for a guy like Decord, you don't expect that one to go in. And that just changed the complexion of that game completely. Ottawa just started to skate then.
Right. And how many times have Ottawa been on that side of it where they come out, they're playing well, they're controlling play, and then bad goal, and you can tell everyone's like, oh, here we go again. But it was the other way this time. Like they found their legs after that goal, right? And then Noah Gregor, heck of a play to make it 2-0. Like they controlled the rest of that second, and then did what they had to do in the third to not give Seattle any conceivable chance to getting back into it. Ullmark part of that too.
He made a toe save. I feel like it was in the second period through traffic, and I was like, okay, this might be okay, because I just felt he could see everything last night. I don't know that we give the defense enough credit on what they've been actually able to do of late. I think they've played extremely well, and in particular, we talk about Thomas Chabot and Nick Jensen. By the way, none of their defense last night had a point, which I found a little
with
bit
Ottawa.
Surprising. Yeah.
It's just it's one of those games where you're on the road. I think Kyle kind of summed it up perfectly. You go to a football game, you're on the road. It's your first game. It's almost expected. Like you don't think this. Seattle always starts off really quick. They got a fast team. And this is what Linus Ullmark was brought in to do. This is why you got him. This is why you're paying him. And very few teams have a goalie like that. Like that's why teams make the playoffs, because they have guys like this. Like that's why the Rangers have been so good for so long, because Shesterkin can literally win you games. And that's what we saw last night from Ullmark. If Ullmark's not playing, they don't win that game.
We don't discuss the Rangers and winning anymore. That's a given. That is a tire fire. Which New York team is worse at the moment, the Rangers or the Sabres? I guess it's the Sabres. What a nightmare that team is. It's the Rangers. It's the Rangers, because they're supposed to be in first place. Everybody's expecting the Sabres not to be this bad, but
right, 11 in a row there. Buffalo. I watched a bit of that Montreal game last night.
Kyle, the Rangers owner isn't coming in like Buffalo's. Hey, it's okay, guys. Have a good Christmas. Everything's going to be fine.
A few of us were joking. It became clear that Mr. Pegula did not build his empire on motivational speaking. The way they came out against Montreal last night. Holy smokes.
Oh, my God.
Back to this game. Sorry, I hijacked that part of the show.
That's all right. Way to go.
So last year, after 31 games, the Ottawa Senators 5 games below 500. This year, they're 16-13-2. Is this all? What do we attribute this to? And it's easy to point to Linus Ullmark, but I think there's a lot more to it. Also, their power play or penalty kill of late has been very good, right? They haven't. They're 11 for 11 in the last 4 games. Remember, we were all over how bad that penalty kill was. They seem to have turned that around. There just seems to be a lot of things going on. Graeme, I know you delve into the analytics a lot of this, and you could see it. You were always, and we brought it up. You were always positive of how this team was never as bad as the record showed. Is there something that stands out for you, or do we just go, yeah, it's Linus Ullmark and let's move on?
I just think it's like the rate of expected goals allowed. Like they're cutting down the chances that the opposition get. And when the guys in goal are making the saves, it makes it they're in games, they're competitive. I wish they would finish more. I think the offense still has a ways to go. They're generating more chances than the opposition consistently. It's just they're getting saves. That's the biggest part of it. But I think like going back to like the DJ Smith era versus this era, I think Travis Green's got them playing good defense, and I think Jacques Martin's laid some of those foundational blocks last season when he came in as the interim guy, and that's continued. It's been a seamless transition. I think you have to give the coaching staff this year a lot of credit for that. Like it's easy to go from Jacques and preach defense and everything else, but they've implemented a system that seems to be working well. And as you pointed out, the special teams has been really good of late. So when you get goaltending, you get special teams play. Like that's how you win in the postseason, and it's working for them right now in the regular season.
Yorkie, it's like when you were playing under Jacques. The Sens are 14-2 when scoring first. They've scored first in the last 7 games.
Yeah.
They are, and by the way, they're tied for first in wins and scoring first at 14.
Yeah.
They're also first in the last 11 games, even strength goals allowed. They're not giving up very much, even strength-wise.
Graeme hit on the special teams are really important, but the one thing that the Senators were doing when they're losing games, especially throughout the years, it's key moments at key times. So we're talking about end of periods, start of periods, start of games especially. One of the most important things, so we can talk about the saves and all that. Like when this team was really bad, they were giving up first shots. What they set a record last year, 23 times, 22 times. They gave up the first goal of the game on the first or second shot. So goaltending for sure, but also it's team. How do I describe this? It's your team mental toughness. You're always taught as players at the end of periods not to give up goals. So you look at a game last night, like late in periods, they gave up some. They don't give up a lot at those key times anymore. So your goalie doesn't always have to make that spectacular save. But I just think this team, Travis Green has done a real nice job of making sure this team stays in the moment, because you get up in a game, you can get ahead of yourself. You get down in your game, you can start pressing. And when you start pressing, you open things up and you allow some opportunities. So I just found Travis is really, and we've heard it. We've had him on the show. Kyle, you've talked to him. Graeme, you're at all the games. He just has, like, it's boring. Every time you interview one of these guys, like, yep, we're just staying in the moment. We're thinking about this. But as a professional, it's so boring. But as a professional athlete, that's what you have to do. Just stay in the friggin' moment. And if you do that and learn to do that, it takes time. So I'll give Steve Staios a little bit of a credit. Bringing in these veteran guys, they help the room stay in the moment. So you got a guy like Nick Jensen in the room. He's just sitting there going about his business. Nothing's really bothering him. Like, he gives the puck away sometimes, but he makes way more better plays than bad plays, so you don't really notice it. And then Jensen, you see the Jensen effect on Shabbat. You see what happens. Even though David Perron has been hurt, he's still around the team. He's still talking to the guys. He's still going out for dinner. He's still in the ear of a young guy like a Noah Gregor, or when a Stopchak gets called up, he's got guys to talk to. So it's not just Claude Giroux that's trying to set the temperature. You got all these older guys now that are involved. And Michael Amadio, how much shit did this guy take the last month? Watch him play. Like, that's just a really smart player they added to the mix, fellas. Like, Matthew Joseph was a great play, like a decent player, fast. You noticed him, but Amadio just does things throughout the game. Like, they're just little tickets he keeps punching that helps you go along and just stay in the moment. So it's a lot of things, but to me, it's a combination, everything, the players, the moves, the coach, and hey, that's why they are where they are right now. And throw in the goaltender, which we've been talking about as well.
Can we discuss the playoffs, or do we just put that away?
Can I say, though, I love now when these stats are coming up about, the last time that Ottawa was in a playoff spot in December, the last time this, the last time that was 2016, 17. Yep. And it's always at the end of it, it's like, I don't know if you know what happened that season. And Sens fans are like, yes, like, yeah, we know we were there. They were one goal away from the cup final. Yeah.
Sincerely, Matt Cook. Speaking of which, the Sens are now 5 shutouts in the league. They lead the league in shutouts. The last 2 seasons combined, they've had 5, and then this is the most they've had since 2016-17, when they had 10. Like, right, again, all those numbers continue to point back. They just play a much better defensive game. And you brought up Nick Jensen, and Yorkie. We've talked about this in the show, but I'll get Graeme and Kyle's thoughts on Nick Jensen. Is you said this is the guy they needed to have, and he got off to a slow start. It seemed like everybody else in the team did too, maybe except Tim Stützle. Graeme, what do you see from Nick Jensen that makes you realize how good he might be?
I think it's just even the one thing that's really surprised me about Nick Jensen is just his willingness to jump up in the play and keep plays alive in the offensive zone, and he pushes the tempo a little bit more than I thought he would. Like, I thought, being paired with Tom Shabbat, he would defer to his partner, let the partner do all the heavy work from the own end out. But like, he's shown me a lot of proficiency in his ability to move the puck and make smart decisions with it. He's not just giving it away. He's not your prototypical defensive defenseman. I find him very cerebral. Like, he moves the puck, puts it in safe spots, and the guys have clean exits off of it. And it makes the transition game a lot easier.
And I just,
by the way, Kyle, what time did you get up to do your hair?
Well, it was more so just get a complete breakfast in. That was the real goal.
Kyle loves a full breakfast. Latte too, Kyle? Did you make yourself a latte?
No, not yet. That'll come later. I like to, wake up naturally. I don't want to rely on the caffeine to get me going. And then once I'm up, after this, I will be putting something together.
Are you still using that wonderful French press of yours for your coffee?
I've got the French press when every now and then. But you know what? So Dana, my wife, got me this coffee advent calendar, Jason, this year. So this box came. So it's like 25 separate little baggies of like 20 grams of coffee beans from 25 different specialty roasters across Canada. And it comes with a booklet with a little write-up from each of the roasters about their favorite way to brew their coffee and all the different tasting notes and where the beans are sourced from. It has just been a wonderful ride here this month. And then the Good Guy Club stuff on top of it. This is the best.
Enough.
Kyle, you gotta live life. You just gotta live life. You gotta live it. You got good coffee. Good coffee is part of good life.
Exactly. Seinfeld's big on that too, right? It's like one of the best parts of life is a good cup of coffee. Nick Jensen, sorry.
No, hang on. I got one question about the advent calendar. Have you had any coffee? You're like, oh no, that's not good.
No, actually, it's all been it's been very, very nice for the most part. Like there's the flavors where I'm going, I don't know if I would go out and buy that myself in the store, but it's just been fun to try because it's basically one cup each thing, right? So it's not a big commitment to each different one. The first one I was like, all right, but that could have just been, human error when it comes to the brewing method. So live and learn.
Well, I gotta get you for Christmas a salted caramel Christmas countdown calendar for every day before Christmas. You have a salty caramel.
So Lisa used to always get me advent calendar of chocolate Lind or whatever, and I was like, just stop. They're just too small. They're just a waste of time. So there's no need.
But the big Lint calendars are great. I will say my dad still mails both my brother and I big Lint advent calendars every year.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm now in my 30s, but it's like such a great thing.
Fair enough. Lisa likes hers when she gets one. So anyway, I can appreciate it. Graeme, do you have an advent calendar?
No. I haven't since I was a kid.
I'm an adult.
Okay. Nick Jensen, Kyle.
Yeah. So it's been I think it's like Graeme outlined it very well. I just the way he's able to also like front pucks too, like there's he's not afraid of whatever comes with clearing the front of the net and having to try to suppress shots when you're put in those situations. And, the fact that it's been, basically a steady run here from the outset with Thomas Chabot, I think has been great for both players just to get some traction going, that there hasn't been the same swapping like we've seen elsewhere, out of necessity, of course, as Zuba's missed a couple of different stints here due to injury. But yeah, it's been positive to watch and to see, Chabot with some good play. And I was having this conversation with somebody not too long ago about, kind of where things change for Chabot, where it seemed like he was on this trajectory to be like, minimum 50, 60 point guy every season. And certainly, do you look at, well, because of how much he was used for so many years, because they didn't have anybody else, like did that play an effect, over the years? But, a part of it too, like, when he was playing that style of looking like a guy that could score or 50, how much are you giving up on the other side of the puck in order to be put in those situations? So I think certainly there's been some growth in his own game and understanding how to play, and having a guy like Jensen there next to him, I think can only help, hammer those points and those details home. And, right now you've got yourself a pretty good second pair that you can rely upon, I think, in a lot of situations here for Travis Green. And we just haven't seen that too often here in Ottawa for the last little while. So it's got to be refreshing.
Where's Nikita Zaitsev right now? Is he still playing? Is he
still
Zaitsev? Is he still in? Well, to Kyle's to Kyle's point, like some of the, it just goes like I talked about this other day. We talked so much about lines. Well, this guy needs somebody to play with, and you bring in a player, and forwards need this. I actually think it's more important for defensemen to have partners that have chemistry, because you're the guys when things screw up that it's on you. Like if you don't have a good D-to-D exchange, or your partner is not there in the right place for reverse, getting out of your own zone is the most important facet besides getting a key save in the game. If you can't get out of your own zone, you're screwed. and throw. And Graeme said it earlier. How many defensemen just get it and flip it out to the middle of the ice? What's a turnover or go off the glass and out? Sure, it's a safe play, but teams are so good now; they're just coming right back at you. So now you have Chabot and Jensen. If you're a forechecker, you don't know which D to take away. When you come in on the angle, because before they just go angle Chabot. Yeah, he's going to go D to D to whoever he's playing with, and then we're getting it back. so now it's not so easy because you got two guys that are helping get the breakouts.
I do have a question on I'll say more of a negative side. Jake Sanderson, what do we think of his game? 2 points in the last 10 games. He's only he's -1 during that stretch. The team is winning. I'll keep in mind. Are we okay with the way he's been playing?
This kind of goes back to Yorkie's point about Chabot having a stable partner, right? Because you look at the years that Thomas Chabot endured playing with guys like Nikita Zaitsev. It's kind of been a struggle for Chabot since he left Dylan DeMello, right? And now he has a competent partner who plays his natural side, and he's taken off. He's having one of his best years in years. And I think with Jake Sanderson, it's playing with Travis Hamonic, it's not ideal, and it's not Travis Hamonic's fault that he's being thrown into that position. It's just out of necessity. They obviously don't have the comfort to put Jacob Bernard-Docker in that kind of position as a second year guy. And
would you?
I think there comes a point in time when you could have that conversation. I think he's been perfectly fine in those limited minutes, but I think to Travis Green's point, this has been brought up numerous times in those media availabilities. He does play sheltered minutes, right? He's not necessarily playing against the other team's top lines, but to Jacob Bernard's credit and to Tyler Cleven's credit, they're playing very well in those sheltered minutes. So eventually, is there a time when you could say, okay, you know what? We're going to give you a little bit more. We're going to give you a little bit more. And it could get to that point at 5-on-5. I think Hamonic will probably still find his way out on the penalty kill and what have you. But I think there could be a time where you could give Jacob Bernard-Docker a little bit more leash and see what he can do in a top four pairing, because I don't know what the alternative is, because Travis Hamonic is protected with his contract unless you acquire another right defenseman who can play those minutes or until Artem Zub comes back. I think you're kind of this is what you're going to get, and you're hoping that Jake Sanderson can carry Hamonic through that process.
And I think this about Jake Sanderson, you look at how he takes care of himself, the work that he puts in, his dedication to the game for a long time. I'm sure you've all heard stories about this guy, how dialed in he is on a number of fronts. So for me, I'm banking on that long term, that's going to bear the fruits of a heck of a defenseman. And maybe we look back at this season 5 years down the road and say that was an off year for him. But over the bulk of his time here, I think he's going to continue to be just an outstanding defender, an outstanding all around player for Ottawa. Despite that the first getting close to the first half of the year maybe hasn't gone how he expected or how many expected.
I think the general public puts so much onus on points. Points, you got to get points. You got to get points.
He's on the first power play unit.
Yeah, but he doesn't play him. You look at a Bouchard.
So then do you move him does Chabot go to the first power play unit?
So I'll just tell you something about defensemen that get lots of points. So Evan Bouchard, he plays about 1:40, 1:50. The real top defensemen in the league that run power plays, they basically play the whole 2 minutes. So in Ottawa, you have a unique situation. You have 2D that probably split the power play time. And Jake Sanderson, when you watch the game, he's a very unselfish player. A lot of guys that get their cookies, they see the puck going up the ice. You know what? I should change. I'm going to stay on because I'm going to try and get this extra assist. I'm going to join that. He'll change because I know this about Jake Sanderson. For him, he takes more pride in being a defensive defenseman and taking a hard matchup against, when they played like a Sidney Crosby, Kyle. That's what this guy loves. So I think the problem is he skates so well. He maneuvers the blue line so well when he comes in with his footwork. So you're like, man, this guy should be on our first power play. So I wouldn't mind it, but they really have two power plays. You have that one group of forwards, their first look with Norris, with Batherson, with Tkachuk. And then you got the second unit with Giroux. So the problem is you got Giroux on that second unit. So that second unit's always going to get time because you have Claude Giroux there and Pinto who have that nice chemistry. So I just think I don't think Sanderson's played that poorly, to tell you the truth, fellas. I think he's been I think he's been good. The problem was last year, he was out of this world.
Right.
So the expectation, like if you compare him to most D and just watch his shifts. Hey, Graeme, watch how many times he goes back for a puck when normally a normal defenseman would rim it. He'll do an escape move and skate it out of trouble. Not many guys can do that, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And his defending, his sticks on puck, he just does so many little things. And not to mention, listen, I think Travis Hamonic's played some of his best hockey as an Ottawa Senator, but he is what he is. Like, he's not here to be there. So, and they're winning. So I think people have to lay off the Jake Sanders is not playing that well. Look at the numbers, how well he played with Zub. All of a sudden, why did that drop off a planet? Well, it is what it is. You're just playing with a guy that probably should be in your third pairing. This will take care of itself. In the meantime, he's still playing pretty good.
And I think you're right. I think that's sorry, Kyle. I think that's kind of like the optimistic perspective. Like you can look at like a guy like Ullmark and say, oh, wow, like he's playing out of his mind right now. We're going to ride that for a hot streak. But then you look at other areas on the roster where it's like, you know what? We could get a lot more out of this guy. Like Shane Pinto was kind of in that conversation for a long time. I think Jake Sanderson is 100% in that conversation. Like if you get Artem Zub back and that pairing takes off and starts to replicate what they did last season, there's so much room for growth from a team perspective that'll take some of the heat off Ullmark when his play starts to normalize and come back to his career norms.
I just was going to add quickly on Sanderson, Yorkie. Like, so for him this year, I believe more than any of his previous seasons here in the NHL, he's dealing with teams game planning specifically for him compared to the past. Like you mentioned, the escape routes that he would run. I think, first couple of years, he had a little more room to do that. Now teams know it's coming. So there's like a guy there right away, sometimes two guys. I think that's where he's noticing. I talked to him a little bit about it. He's going like, I used to have a little bit more time getting up ice. That's gone now. So it's all part of the adjustment. That's life in the NHL. You've got to figure it out. But I'm willing to bet that he will.
He just needs to simplify, Kyle. Like the problem is he got away with it. And it's like defenseman, it's like Connor Bedard's having a tougher time because people know as a defenseman, he's never going to go wide on you. He's always going to pull up. He's always going to try and shoot it. So he's lost. So with Sanderson, it's like, hey, maybe sometimes you are going to have to rim it. Maybe sometimes it is going to have to be a high flipper. It can't, because forwards are so good. Like you don't know until you go watch a game ice level. Kyle, you're down at ice level. How quick stuff happens. It's crazy. Like, so for Sanderson, the stuff he was doing doesn't happen in his second year in the league. So to me, he's actually playing like he should right now. Make a mistake now and then, because that's what normal defensemen do.
Guys, it's clear the Sens should have kept Jacob Chychrun and traded Jake Sanderson at this point.
Oh my gosh. There's the Grinch we know and love.
Yes.
I was half expecting this episode to be all about the fact that Ottawa didn't score with the empty net for over 4 minutes in the third. I thought you were going to hammer them about that.
Drake Batherson, eh?
Yes, a heck of a save by Montour. The show title would be Empty Promises.
Sleepless in Seattle. You won't be able to sleep with it.
That's right. How can they live with themselves?
You like Wally's catchy show titles, eh, Kyle? You can appreciate that.
I love it. They get the notification pop up on the phone. The new episode's been dropped. All aboard. All right. Might as well hop on the train then. Let's go.
Oh,
look at that.
That's awesome.
That is great. You and Jim.
This show is a mess.
Your hair's a mess. Your hair is a mess in that picture. What's going on there? A little too much gel.
I don't know what this is. Anyway, I don't know what's happening. So anyway, Kyle, there's a couple questions I need to get through. And by the way, Graeme, we forgot to ask you off the top. Have you slept?
Yeah, I was good. I caught the first 2 periods last night, and then I just shut it down. And then I got lucky and woke up this morning excited to do the show. So yeah, I'm good. I'm 100% good.
Because when you do a shift, all right, you're just coming off shift, as you call it. You don't sleep for 12 days.
Well, I mean, like some stations are different. Like downtown, like Laurier Street, like they're running like 30, 35 calls a day normally. And it's just, they're up the entire day essentially. So I'm like every station's different. Like you get in the suburban pockets, it'll be a lot slower than 30, 35 calls. But that's one of the drawbacks. And it's it's part of it's what you sign up for, right? It's shift work. So,
Kyle, do you still use maple syrup in your hair? And
Yeah,
by the
from
way,
time to time, when I
what
need
were
a little
you
extra.
doing that you thought that this is what I need today?
Well, but did you listen to the audio that went with it?
I forget stuff.
Oh, well, remember the scene in Wedding Crashers? That was the whole inspiration for the post.
Yes, I remember that.
Remember
Wally doesn't watch movies.
So they're showing up at the Clergy wedding, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to be, and they're going back and forth with ideas. And Vince Vaughn suggests they could be from Vermont, and they run a maple syrup conglomerate.
Yes,
And
yes.
Owen Wilson's like, we don't know anything about maple syrup. And Vince Vaughn's like, I happen to know everything there is to know about maple syrup. Love maple syrup on pancakes, love maple syrup on pizza. And then he goes, I even put a little bit maple syrup in my hair when I've had a rough week. What do you think keeps it up? Slick. And I was like, I wanted to do a video putting maple syrup in my hair with that audio running underneath. So that was the key element of the whole
Pure
ensemble.
maple syrup. You gotta use pure maple syrup.
Yes.
No additives.
Get something right. Get something local here. We've got so many good sugar shacks at our doorstep.
I wish I had it. So there is a NHL off ice official who makes his own maple syrup.
Really?
Yeah. He gave it to Lisa on the way out the other night. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
There you go.
Do you know who else makes their own maple syrup? Old Sean Donovan.
Really?
I believe that.
Donovan Acres. You get Donald got me a nice barrel of it last year for Christmas. It's go nice in your hair too, Kyle. Keep it nice and tucked up.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I was honestly shocked at how effective it was until you go to get a sweat in. Then it starts to crystallize, and you're like, this isn't as fun anymore.
Okay. Last question before we let you go, because I know you guys want to get on with your day and avoid this nonsense. Is do either one of you, or even Yorkie for that matter, have Christmas traditions that you have kept throughout the years?
Go ahead, Graeme.
We've got.
Now, you have a new kid, so
yeah. So we have a 3-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. So like we had the COVID years too. So like we haven't really started any traditions. Now that they're old enough to appreciate Christmas and understand what it's all about, we'll probably start something. But like we haven't. I wouldn't say we have any like massive traditions. It's just we've made the mistake in the past of like my wife's parents split up. My mom remarried after my dad passed away in 2005, and we had split homes, and we would try and hit every home over the course of a day, like 4 houses in one day. And it was nice seeing everybody. It was a lot of work, and it was all right, but trying to make everybody happy. That was our tradition.
Fair enough. Kyle, what do you have anything now or previously?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. Like my mom, my dad, my brother, and I, like since my younger brother was born, like we've woken up Christmas Day under the same roof every year. And knock on wood that travel isn't too wonky this year. That will continue. So that one is very meaningful. And then all things being equal, Christmas vacation the night of the 23rd, A Christmas Story, Christmas Eve. And something that's kind of come into the mix here now is my brother and I have gotten older, and we've gotten a little more mature and can appreciate it. We'll have It's a Wonderful Life playing on Christmas Day, kind of in the afternoon. There's some cooking going on, snacking in the living room, and that's a nice just to have in the background there. It is a classic.
Where's Elf?
That's usually earlier in December. You knock that out. Like that one, like Home Alone 2.
Does it get you started?
Warms you up.
Yes,
Warms
exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Oh my
The
god, Kyle, I
Grinch.
love it. Just a house filled with tradition. That's awesome.
Yorkie, do you do Elf on the Shelf?
Fortunate.
So we had, when my kids were young, we had an elf on the shelf, but it was kind of creepy looking. And my kids, my kids were kind of afraid of it because it would look down from the shelves at them like, that thing's going to get me. So we had to get rid of the elf of the shelf because the kids are getting freaked out. So we used to get, when the kids were young, everybody had matching pajamas. So everybody went to bed in their matching pajamas.
Nice.
They would get up. But the new tradition, Wally, and we talked about this the other day, and I'm going to show you, this is step one. These were constructed last night by my lovely wife, Laurel. She gets them ready because we will be decorating them on the night of the 23rd. So here is the gingerbread house. They were
the stupidest holiday tradition ever. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my
so
gosh.
we make the gingerbread. So Smells great, by the way. It's real gingerbread. So we get the gingerbread houses, and then we have all the candy on the table. So it's and our kids are older now. They're in their 20s. My in-laws, Laurel's parents, come down, Mike and Marge, and we all have a gingerbread contest making a gingerbread contest. Doesn't sound right. Anyway, we have a contest making gingerbread houses, and then we display them after. And this is the preliminary house. I'll have the one once it's made. I'll have the winning house, and we will show it after Christmas. So that's nice. The big tradition around us, Wally. What about you?
Cheers to your gingerbread.
Oh, Kyle, look, that goes great with the coffee, doesn't it, Kyle?
Yeah. Okay. All right, John. Last question before we let you go.
Would you have any traditions? Like, is it just bah humbug over there? Like, what goes on over
there? Christmas night, all this decorations are down, put away.
That's right.
Wally, Kyle,
gifts are open. All right, trees coming.
Graeme, listen to this. Wally paid his daughter $50 to wrap his wife's presents.
I can't believe we've got this far into the show without talking about it. Brent, I don't live very far from you. If that's the going rate, I would have happily wrapped gifts. I love wrapping gifts. I'm not very quick at it, but I will do a good job. I'm big on like everything being like right edges, 90 degrees, straight across, the folds equal on both sides.
Did you do with the ribbon?
Of course.
Oh,
yes.
I may
My
have
mother
overpaid.
and father taught me well.
There's no bows. There's nothing. She just wrapped it. Lisa does have her birthday coming though, so maybe I can. Yeah, I'll get in touch with you. By the way, we've always brought up steaks on the show occasionally. Kyle has cooked me steak at his house.
Yeah, and I'll give Wally credit. It was a long ways away from well done, and he still trucked through it. He didn't want to be a rude guest, and he wasn't.
Kyle's like, "This is the way you're eating it. You're going to enjoy it."
Kyle's medium rare. Graeme, there's no way you're a well done steak guy.
No, medium rare. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Never mind. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. I hope you have a great holiday. See you at the rink in the new year at some point.
Sounds good. Yorkie, Nikita Zaitsev, St. Petersburg, KHL.
There he's gone. See, he's.
I thought he retired.
No, that's the Russians go over there. You can make a lot of dough there at the end of your career. No, that's he's not that old, is he, Graeme? What is Zaitsev?
33.
Yeah, he's still a young guy. Jeez, I played till I was 37. He's got lots of years left in him.
Okay,
look at you now.
27 games.
Oh yes. Hey, Kyle.
Yeah. Oh, last thing before we go, you guys had your dogs. Gertie is ready for the holidays. This morning, she got decked out.
Oh,
nice.
Well done. There you go.
Gertie
looking happy.
So pissed.
Oh, man. Sweetheart.
All right, gentlemen. Take care. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, fellas.